Chosen one. Stop scrolling and hear this. Heaven has issued a command concerning your life. This is not just another video, this is a divine appointment. You've cried for answers. You've waited for confirmation. And now God speaks. Help is coming. A breakthrough has been ordered in your favor. You may have felt overlooked. You may have been forgotten by people, but not by God. While others were busy ignoring you, heaven was writing your next chapter. While you sat in silence, heaven was shouting your name across eternity. There are no accidents in the kingdom. Your pain had a pattern. Your struggle had a purpose. And your time is now. You've been in the shadows, learning how to fight battles no one clapped for. You've walked through storms that didn't come with applause. But still you rose. Still, you believed. That, chosen one, is why you are here. Because the oil on your life is rare, and heaven protects what is holy. Do you know why the warfare has been intense? Because what's inside you terrifies hell. You don't just walk into rooms, you shift the atmosphere. You don't just survive, you break chains when you enter. That's why the enemy tried to distract you, to discourage you, to delay you. But he failed. You're still here. And that alone is proof that God is still working. There are realms in the spirit you're about to step into that you never dreamed possible. Not because you earned it, but because God promised it. You were always part of the plan. You were always meant to rise from that place. This moment is not about your strength, it's about your surrender. And heaven says, breakthrough is no longer pending, it is active. Let this truth settle deep into your soul. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not behind. You are exactly where God needs you to be for this divine intersection. Help is arriving not in the way you expected, but in the way heaven designed. Scripture records the words of the prophet Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. Though it lingers, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. You thought it was over. You thought the window had closed. But God says no, it will not delay. What He promised you is not lost. What He whispered in the night will still come to pass. The vision is still alive. And now, breakthrough is moving through your atmosphere. There are angels in motion. There are doors unlocking. There are battles being won without your hands even touching them. You don't need to know how. You just need to believe it's happening. There is favor being released into your direction. There are divine connections being arranged, even as you listen. What was shut is opening. What was stuck is shifting. The dry season is ending. Your instructions are simple. Don't give up now. Don't shrink when you're this close to the promise. You didn't survive this long to die at the edge of breakthrough. You are closer than you've ever been. God is directing the path, aligning the people, removing the hindrances. And now, as a prophetic act, type 1414 into the comments. That is your number of divinely timed manifestation. It declares, I trust God's timing. I align with heaven. I receive my breakthrough. Don't just scroll away, seal what you've received. That number is not random. It marks your faith in this exact moment. And if this word has stirred something in your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Like it, share it, and subscribe to this channel, because this is not the last word heaven will send your way. This is a beginning, a signal, a trumpet sounding to awaken every sleeping dream and every buried promise. Chosen one, God has directed your breakthrough. The help you prayed for is not coming, it has arrived. Don't misread this moment. What just stirred in your spirit wasn't emotion, it was divine recognition. Your spirit leapt because it recognized truth. Every delay, every detour, every sleepless night has been leading to this crossing point. You are not who you were yesterday. Something shifted. Something opened. Heaven did not send this word to excite you. It sent it to ignite you. You're stepping into a sequence of suddenlies. Miracles will not trickle. They will overtake. This is not hype. This is holy. Get ready. Chosen one. Your atmosphere has changed. The ground beneath you is responding to your obedience. Breakthrough is no longer a word. It's a reality now resting upon you. You didn't choose this battle. It was chosen for you. Not as punishment, but as preparation. You've been fighting battles that seemed invisible to others, but undeniable to you. Long before you had the language to describe the weight, you were already feeling its pressure. Long before you understood warfare, you were already in the middle of it. And now, God is pulling back the veil and letting you see. This wasn't random. This was holy assignment. Every night you laid in bed, asking, "Why me?" Every day you pressed forward, pretending you were fine. Every moment you questioned if you had the strength to keep going. Heaven recorded them all. Because your hidden battles were never wasted. They were sacred. They were building something in you that couldn't be taught, only forged. You see, chosen one, your training didn't happen on stages. It happened in the silence. It didn't happen in applause. It happened in abandonment. It happened when no one noticed you. And yet you still obeyed. That's why your calling runs deeper than surface-level motivation. You weren't built for shallow waters. You've been anchored in pain. And now, you're rising in power. There were moments when the warfare made no sense. The attack came out of nowhere. You were misunderstood by people who never took time to know your heart. You were judged for battles you didn't even start. And still you kept your posture. You stayed aligned. You didn't allow the bitterness to take root. That was no small thing. That was the fruit of assignment. Many are gifted, but not all are chosen. And what makes the chosen different isn't perfection, it's perseverance. The chosen ones are the ones who go unseen, unthanked, and still remain faithful. The ones who keep showing up when there's no reward. That's who you are. You are the one who didn't quit when it would have been easier. The one who chose purity over popularity. The one who chose obedience over recognition. There's a reason the warfare against your life felt personal. Because it was. The enemy knew that if you ever made it past survival, you would step into divine strategy. He attacked your confidence, your clarity, your identity, because he saw something rising before you did. It is written in the book of Job, chapter 23, verse 10, "But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I shall come forth as gold." And that's exactly what's happening now. You're coming forth. Not as the same person who entered the fire, but as one refined by it. You didn't die in the test. You didn't drown in the delay. You were forged, strengthened, empowered. You don't look like what you've been through, and that's the glory of it. You are learning to walk in authority now, not arrogance authority. Akyet, holy confidence that comes from knowing who sent you. You're starting to recognize the difference between busyness and fruitfulness, between noise and anointing. And most of all, You're learning how to hold your peace while the Lord fights your battles. Not everyone will understand what God is doing in your life. And they don't have to. God didn't ask their permission to choose you. He didn't need a vote to anoint you. And He certainly doesn't need them to agree before He blesses you. What He started in you, He will finish. And nothing can stop a move that God has authored. You weren't meant to stay hidden forever. The season of hiding was never about shame. It was about strength. God had to get you alone so He could speak without distraction. He had to take you through the fire so your faith wouldn't be fragile. He had to break you so He could build you back, unshakable. And now, there is a shift. You can feel it in your spirit. You can sense the stirring. You're no longer begging for identity, you're walking in it. You're no longer questioning if you're called, you know it now. You are no longer hoping to be chosen, you understand. You always were. That's why this battle came. Not to bury you, but to break open what was inside you all along. Now the anointing flows freely. Now the fire doesn't burn you, it brands you. You've survived what was meant to destroy you. And now, every step forward is prophetic. Every breath is warfare. Every act of obedience is pushing darkness back. Sonu, chosen one. Your hidden battles were never punishment. They were prophecy in motion, assignment in disguise. And now, breakthrough is coming, not around you, but through you. Chosen one. Do not misinterpret the silence. What feels like isolation is not abandonment, it is refinement. You think you've been forgotten, overlooked, delayed. But heaven says you have been hidden on purpose, not because you weren't ready, but because the world wasn't ready for what you carry. God doesn't reveal glory prematurely. He conceals vessels that are sacred. And you, beloved, are a sacred vessel. You were never exiled, you were extracted, pulled away from noise, drama, distraction. The world calls it loneliness, but heaven calls it consecration. You're not missing out, you're being moved in. God has tucked you beneath His shadow to do a deeper work. The word of the Lord in the book of Isaiah, chapter 49, verse 2 declares, He made my mouth like a sharpened sword. In the shadow of His hand, He hid me. He made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in His quiver. End of 2. This season is not punishment. It is precision. You've been in a quiver, not discarded, but drawn back for impact. The further God pulls you into seclusion, the more powerful your release will be. This is not delay. This is divine aiming. You've watched others rise, gain platforms, gain followers, gain recognition, and you asked, God, why not me? But the truth is, if God had released you when you asked, it would have destroyed you. Popularity can crush what preparation has not built, and God loves you too much to promote you without root. What others call isolation, heaven calls preparation. What they see as obscurity, God calls protection. The oil on your life is too weighty to be mishandled. Your mantle is not light. Your call is not common. So don't resent the hiding. It's saving your life. You've been hidden to be hardened in holiness. You've been alone so you could hear clearly. Every tear you cried in private was collected. Every sleepless night was sacred training. While others learned to impress, you learned to intercede. While they chased influence, you were taught to carry impact. God removed the noise so He could tune your ear. He restricted your circle so he could expand your capacity. He silenced applause so you could learn how to walk in obedience with no audience. That kind of depth can't be taught. It must be forged. There is a difference between those who are sent and those who went. You are not being pushed by ambition. You are being drawn by fire. And when heaven releases you, you won't need to beg for room. Space will open because of the weight you carry. You are not being delayed. You are being developed. And when the time comes, and it's coming soon, you won't rise with noise, but with authority. Your presence will shift atmospheres. Your words will carry fire. You won't have to announce yourself. The oil will announce you. But first, let the hiding finish its work. Let the secret place shape what public stages can't. Let the silence stretch your sensitivity. Let this season deepen your roots so your fruit lasts. This is not forever, but it is for now. And what you yield to in private, God will multiply in public. So right here, in this moment, make a prophetic declaration. 1, the spirit realm will recognize. 1, hell will regret. Comment, I break through. Don't type it to impress me. Type it to remind yourself that breakthrough doesn't begin on the outside. It starts with a decision in the spirit. The decision to believe that God's timing is perfect. His hiding is strategic. And your silence is not void. It's sacred. Every time you write those 3 words, it echoes through the veil. Demons flinch. Chains weaken. Something shifts. Because breakthrough is not just about a miracle, it's about your agreement with heaven's pace. And today, heaven is moving. You are not stuck. You are stationed. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. And soon, very soon, what was hidden will emerge. And when it does, the earth will not see a survivor. They'll see a sharpened arrow launched from God's own hand. So type it boldly. I break through, not just as a comment, but as a covenant. A spiritual contract sealed in agreement with heaven's timing and design. When you write it, you're not begging for change. You're declaring that it's already in motion. You're saying, I may still be in hiding, but I'm no longer in doubt. I agree with what God is doing in me, through me, and for me. Say it. Seal it. Heaven is waiting on your yes. There's a reason you've always felt the spiritual pressure before something big, before doors opened, before breakthroughs arrived, before seasons shifted. You felt it first. Not because you're sensitive, but because you're spiritually wired to sense the unseen. What others dismiss as mood, you discern as movement. What others feel as chaos, you detect as transition. This sensitivity is not a flaw. It's a function of your calling. You weren't built for numbness. You were built to perceive divine patterns in the midst of noise. That's why your inner world feels the weight before the outside world ever changes. It's not anxiety, it's spiritual alignment. You've always carried something that disturbed darkness. Even when you were young, even when you didn't know how to pray yet, you attracted opposition not because you were weak, but because the enemy detected your potential. Hell is never threatened by empty vessels. It's only disturbed by those who carry purpose. And you, chosen one, carry glory in disguise. It's been disguised in your pain, hidden in your disappointments, buried under years of silence, sacrifice, and separation. But it never left. And what you thought was loss was actually the careful hand of God stripping away what could not go with you to the next dimension. Some of the betrayals that shook you were actually divine barriers. God didn't allow them to stay. Not because you weren't good enough, but because your spirit outgrew the room. When you're called to glory, God will remove what's familiar if it begins to suffocate your future. You've been misunderstood because people could only interpret you through natural sight. They didn't see the weight of the calling you carry. They saw your exterior, but not your mantle. They judged your journey without knowing your battles. But God knew. Heaven always knew. And that's why you were protected from certain platforms and hidden from certain eyes. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right on time for a divine release. The timing of your emergence has always been guarded by God. He didn't allow certain doors to open, not to punish you, but to preserve you. Not all delay is demonic. Some delay is divine insulation. You weren't being ignored. You were being matured. God wasn't saying no. He was saying, not like that. Not with that crowd. Not with that mindset. Not with that version of you that still craved the approval of man. He had to break those pieces so he could build you with clean hands and a pure heart. And now, something in the spirit has shifted. The weight on your chest is lifting. The fog in your mind is clearing. The sorrow you've been carrying like a second skin is starting to peel away. Not because the circumstances have changed, but because you've changed. The Word of God speaks in the book of Micah, chapter 7, verse 8. Do not gloat over me, my enemy. Though I have fallen, I will rise. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light. That wasn't just poetry. It was prophecy, and now it's your reality. You sat in darkness, but now light is breaking through. You were down, but never disqualified. You were hidden, but never forsaken. And God is raising you up not to impress people, but to complete the assignment He placed on your life before the foundations of the earth. You're no longer praying just to survive. You're praying with revelation, with clarity, with posture. You've stopped begging for God to move, and you've started positioning yourself for what He already promised. That is maturity. That is growth. That is power. The wilderness didn't break you, it revealed you. It showed you who you are without applause, without approval, without attention. And what God saw in that quiet place was someone He could trust, someone who could carry the oil without becoming proud, someone who could walk in favor and still choose humility. And now, there is a shift. You can feel it in your spirit. You can sense the stirring. You're no longer begging for identity. You're walking in it. You're no longer questioning if you're called. You know it now. You are no longer hoping to be chosen. You understand. You always were. Because when God has chosen you, no rejection can stop you. No delay can hold you. And no demand can cancel you. What He authored, He will finish. What He planted, He will water. And what He's called you, He will crown in His timing. Chosen one. Take a breath. The fact that you're still here is already a miracle. You've walked through fire that should have consumed you, valleys that should have buried you, and seasons of silence that would have driven others mad. And yet, here you are, eyes open, spirit alert, heart still tender toward God. Let that settle in for a moment. You didn't just survive. You endured with oil. You stayed faithful when everything around you tried to convince you that quitting was the only option. That's not ordinary strength. That's evidence of grace. You are not operating on human resilience. You are being sustained by divine purpose. So many around you have questioned how you keep going, how you still pray, how you still love, how you haven't become bitter after everything you've walked through. But they don't see the hidden strength inside you. They don't hear the secret whispers between you and God in the stillness of your room. They don't know what it took for you to show up to life today. But heaven does. And your consistency has not gone unnoticed. You didn't fake it. You fought for it. You fought for your joy. You fought for your peace. You fought to stay planted when your flesh screamed to run. And that is why heaven is now sending reinforcement. You are stepping into a season where the pressure will produce promise, not just pain. This is not the end of your story. In fact, it's the divine turning point. The moment where what was sent to bury you becomes the very soil from which your destiny breaks through. Your roots went down deep, and now it's time to rise. The word of the Lord declares in the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest, if we do not give up." Oh, you're stepping into divine alignment. Doors will open not because you forced them, but because you were faithful when no one was watching. Conversations are happening in rooms you've never entered, but your name is being mentioned because heaven has endorsed you. You're not chasing favor. Favor is chasing you. And as this shift happens, your obedience must increase, because with new levels of favor come new levels of warfare. But don't fear, your armor is ready. Your weapons are tested. You've been trained in private for the platforms you're about to stand on. There's no need to strive, no need to prove. All you need to do now is walk. Walk like you're chosen. Speak like you're chosen. Worship like you're chosen. Because you are. And while you're here, lean in for a moment. If these words have stirred something in your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Someone else is out there right now, exhausted, confused, barely holding on, who needs to hear the very confirmation you just received. Like this message, not for the algorithm's sake, but because every like pushes this word closer to another chosen one. Share it with someone you know carries weight in silence. Someone who smiles but is secretly in warfare. Subscribe if you haven't already. Because this isn't just content, it's a well. A stream of living word sent for those who refuse to give up. And if you feel led, only if your spirit agrees, consider sowing into this space. Every seed helps this message reach further. Stretch reader and call out more of the remnant. Not everyone will understand it, but if your spirit leapt while reading, you already know this is good ground. Because this is about more than views or numbers. This is about alignment, about showing heaven, I recognize the oil, and I honor the voice that pulled me back from quitting. Let your giving be prophetic. Let your share be warfare. Let your subscription be a signal. I'm not going back to who I was. Nope, chosen one. This isn't hype. This is Holy Spirit clarity. This is your moment to rise, not with noise, but with knowing. Knowing who you are, knowing who you carry, and knowing that what's ahead of you is not just better, it's ordained. And if God brought you this far, He will finish what He started. So stand up, shoulders back, head lifted. You are not broken, you are becoming. You are not forgotten, you are favored. You are not weak, you are war ready. And the same God who kept you through the trial will crown you in the triumph. This is not a season of begging, it's a season of building. And heaven is handing you the blueprint. Chosen one, listen carefully. This is not the season to second-guess what God already confirmed. You've been questioning yourself, asking if you heard him right, wondering if what you sensed was real. And the answer is yes, you did hear him. And yes, what you felt was real. The stirring in your spirit wasn't just emotion, it was revelation. The unease you felt in familiar places wasn't discomfort, it was divine disconnection. God has been quietly repositioning you, separating you not to isolate, but to prepare. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. The atmosphere around you is changing because heaven has released help. Angels have been dispatched. Strategies are being whispered to your spirit in dreams, in moments of quiet, in unusual ways. Don't ignore them. This is not the time to sleep spiritually. This is the time to lean in and obey quickly. Your breakthrough isn't coming. It has been initiated. What you've been sensing isn't potential. It's activation. Things are beginning to break loose around you. You're seeing pieces move. Conversations shift. Resistance weakening. That's because you've stepped into a prophetic threshold, and the realm of heaven is backing your next move. But you must walk carefully, because the same doors God opens, the enemy tries to mimic. There will be counterfeits, opportunities that look good, but are distractions in disguise. Your discernment is your weapon now. This next level will not be about how hard you work, but how clearly you hear. You've cried for clarity. You've begged for confirmation. And now God is answering, not through thunder, but through precision. You'll hear the right words at the right time. You'll feel a check in your spirit when something is off. Trust that. God is speaking more clearly now. Not because he changed, but because you've matured into listening. There are seasons where heaven goes silent to grow you. But then there are moments like this when the veil lifts and instructions begin to flow. This is one of those moments. You are being equipped with divine intelligence for what comes next. This is not emotional hype. This is supernatural strategy. It is written in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 6. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. No, that's not a suggestion, it's a blueprint. When you place him at the center of your decisions, direction becomes inevitable. He's not asking you to figure it out. He's asking you to acknowledge him. Invite him into the choices, the meetings, the conversations. When you do, confusion lifts. Alignment flows. Clarity comes. Don't shrink back. Don't delay obedience. Don't question if you're worthy. You are not being elevated because you earned it. You are being elevated because he chose you, not for your perfection, but for your posture. You remained obedient in obscurity. You stayed pure in the pressure. You humbled yourself when pride would have been easier. That's why this release is different. That's why what's coming will carry weight, not just visibility. You're not being promoted to be seen. You're being promoted to establish atmospheres. When you enter a room, strongholds will break. When you speak, hearts will shift. When you pray, systems will bend. You're not stepping into fame. You're stepping into function. And function always flows from the spirit, not the spotlight. This breakthrough will not look like man's version of success. It will look like heaven's version of victory, alignment, clarity, peace, access, and authority. This is also the moment where heaven checks your agreement. God already said yes. The question is, will you say yes back? Will you walk like it's already done? Will you pray like it's already open? Will you worship like the answer is already on the way? If so, seal it. Comment the number 4,444. 4 is the number of divine establishment. And this isn't a beginning anymore. This is the establishing of the thing God has been forming in the hidden place. You're not just stepping into promise, you're becoming the manifestation of it. That number declares, what was delayed is now rooted. What was started is now sustained. And let this word mark you deeply. You're not trying to get aligned anymore. You are aligned. You're not trying to qualify. You've already been qualified. You're not begging for breakthrough. You are the breakthrough in motion. So type it boldly, 4,444. Let it be written in the comments as a prophetic signpost. Not just a number, but a decree. Furfurs mean foundation, fulfillment, finality, and fire. Heaven is establishing you, rooting you, cementing what was once fragile. No more floating, no more wandering. This is your divine grounding. The atmosphere is shifting around you. Chosen one. And whether you feel it or not, heaven has already decided your next season. This isn't based on emotion. It's not something that will fade when the feeling passes. This is alignment in motion. What was once locked is now responding to the vibration of divine timing. What felt like silence is beginning to echo with answers you didn't expect. And God is calling you to perceive beyond the natural. You've entered a moment where the external hasn't caught up with the internal yet. The breakthrough is real. Even if your circumstances haven't reflected it fully, it's like a seed underground, nothing visible. Yet everything is shifting beneath the surface. That's where you are. Unter divine Tension, mid-birth. Suspended between what was and what is coming. And in this in-between place, doubt tries to whisper. Fear tries to crawl back in. Old wounds resurface. Familiar patterns beg for your attention. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're standing on the threshold of something holy. And thresholds are always contested. The enemy is not creative, he is repetitive. He always returns with the last strategy that almost worked. The voices that once delayed you will try to visit again. The fears that once slowed your progress will attempt to reattach themselves. But this time, you're not who you were. The version of you standing here now is anointed, alert, and armored. You've seen too much to go back. You've heard too clearly to question. God didn't bring you this far to abandon you at the edge. This isn't a tease. This isn't emotional build-up. This is divine birthing. And the tension you feel is the pressure of prophetic fulfillment. You may not realize it, but you've already crossed over in the spirit. The old cycle is broken. What used to bind you no longer fits. What used to tempt you no longer satisfies. That's the proof of maturity. That's the evidence that transformation has occurred. You've stopped reaching backward for what God has already severed. And now, there's a stillness, a strange kind of silence that doesn't feel like absence, but reverence. The kind that comes before something sacred is revealed. You don't need noise. You don't need answers on demand. You've entered the realm of trust. And trust is the highest level of faith. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? God is not rushing. He's rooting. He's establishing you in a way that ensures what comes next cannot be shaken by storms, betrayal, or sudden changes. The next thing will last because this time your identity is leading, not your insecurity. Heaven is building around your obedience. The unseen things, the connections, the favor, the momentum it's forming around your willingness to say yes, even when you don't have the details. That kind of obedience is what heaven rewards. The type that walks even when the map is blurry. And yes, the weight feels heavier right now. That's not because you're weak, it's because you're carrying the next version of yourself. Your shoulders were made for this. Your spirit was formed to steward this. You've already been tested, refined, proven. The wilderness didn't destroy you, it defined you. So let the old fall away. Let what expired remain buried. You do not owe your future an explanation for why the past didn't work. You don't need to justify your obedience. You don't need to defend the doors you walked away from. If God said, leave it, let it burn. If God said, let it go, don't resurrect it with memory. This season will be marked not by noise, but by precision. What used to take years will take moments. What used to require striving will happen through surrender. You'll say less and see more. You'll fight less and win more. Because your very presence now carries divine instruction. You've become a signal in the spirit. You don't need to announce that you've shifted. The fruit will speak. The flow will confirm it. What once took 10 explanations will now take one encounter. You are no longer proving you're producing. So, guard this stillness. Protect this clarity. Don't let urgency rob you of wisdom. You're not being delayed, you're being synchronized. What's coming is not just for you, it's going to affect every room you enter, every conversation you touch, every atmosphere you stand in. This is not about arrival. This is about establishment. You are not fragile. You are not forgotten. You are not almost there. You are in it now. The shift has happened. The veil is thin. And the sound of heaven's movement is echoing through every step you take. No more striving. No more surviving. You are standing in the middle of prophecy. And it's not dependent on your performance. It's anchored in your posture. Remain there. Chosen one. There's something heaven needs you to grasp. The very thing that tried to destroy chosen one. There's something heaven needs you to grasp. The very thing that tried to destroy you, it positioned you. The attack wasn't random. The betrayal wasn't pointless. The heartbreak, the confusion, the crushing pressure. It was never about your destruction. It was about your alignment. The truth is, the enemy saw it coming before you did. He saw the favor forming around your life. He heard your name spoken in heavenly places. He recognized the oil being stirred in you through prayer and perseverance. That's why the pressure intensified. That's why the opposition increased. He wasn't fighting who you were, he was fighting who you were becoming. But here's the power. What the enemy meant to bury you, God used to build you. You don't even realize how much you've changed. You're walking through rooms now with discernment sharpened by war. You're entering conversations with authority refined through affliction. There's a weight to your presence now, a holy stillness that commands attention not through volume, but through presence. And that presence was forged in the fire. Every time you chose worship over worry, you shifted the atmosphere. Every time you forgave when it didn't make sense, you activated breakthrough. Every time you showed up, broken, but still bowed in surrender, you made hell tremble. This is why the enemy has been relentless. He hoped to catch you tired, distracted, doubting. But what he underestimated was the resilience of a chosen one, refined by fire. You've proven you're not just emotionally attached to God, you're spiritually anchored in Him. That's what the fire revealed. You see, some lessons don't come from sermons. They come from survival, from watching everything fall apart and realizing He's still God. From walking through seasons that didn't match the prophecy, yet still holding the prophecy tighter than your pain. That's the kind of faith you now carry, not theoretical, but tested, and that faith has power. It's the kind of faith that doesn't need to be loud, to be lethal, the kind that doesn't require external validation to stay rooted, the kind that doesn't chase platforms, it carries presence. The Word of God declares in the first letter of Peter, chapter 1, verse 7, "These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold. And now the gold in you is beginning to shine." You've been entrusted with much, and to carry that kind of authority, you had to experience the weight of opposition. The disappointment you faced, it created depth. The rejection you endured, it protected purity. The delay you walked through, it prepared your delivery. Nothing was wasted. Not one moment. Not one tear. Not one silent night. God gathered it all. And now, He's using the very attack that tried to silence you, to announce you, there is a beauty in what you've become. You didn't just survive, you were refined. You didn't just overcome, you matured. Your heart didn't harden. It deepened. And now, God is placing weight on your words, authority on your actions, fire in your footsteps. When you speak now, it carries something eternal. When you move, something breaks in the unseen realm. Because you don't just carry experience, you carry evidence that God really does keep His word, that broken people really can be used, that the rejected can still be risen. Heaven has written your scars into the story, not as signs of defeat, but as marks of victory. You are no longer the same. The fire didn't just burn what was unnecessary, it revealed what was holy. You didn't lose your fire in the trial. You found it. You didn't lose your voice, you found your volume. You didn't lose your hope, you found your roar. There's something else you must know now. You're not coming out of the fire empty-handed. You're coming out with spoils, with wisdom, with purity, with unshakable confidence in the one who kept you when nothing else could. This moment is about perspective. If you only see the pain, you'll miss the purpose. But if you pause, if you look deeper, you'll realize what was meant to destroy you only delivered you. You're not less than because of the warfare, you're more than. You're not disqualified because of your valley, you're crowned because of your climb. The tables are turning, and your enemies won't even recognize the version of you that's about to rise. Not out of pride, but out of promise. What the enemy tried to break, God is now blessing. What was sent to bury, God is using to build. You are not limping forward, you are being lifted. Chosen one. What you're walking into now is not a recovery, it's a resurrection. You're not just picking up the pieces. You're stepping into something new, something never lived before. You're not going back to how things were. God is not restoring you to your former strength. He's resurrecting you into a strength you've never known. This is why the shaking came. This is why the bottom fell out. Because heaven wasn't patching up your old foundations, it was breaking ground for something unshakable, something eternal, something holy. The collapse wasn't a collapse, it was an excavation. God was digging deep to lay something that would never be moved again. And now, even though your outer world still looks chaotic, your spirit knows. Something inside you has shifted. You don't panic the way you used to. You don't chase the things you used to idolize. The things that once hurt you deeply no longer hold the same weight. That's not indifference. That's called resurrection maturity. You've grown. You've healed in places no one clapped for. You've received revelation in places no one affirmed. And that's exactly how God wanted it. Quiet growth, sacred rebuilding, private resurrections. Not so the world could validate you, but so that when you rise, they'll know God did this. You're no longer reacting, you're reigning. No longer doubting, you're deciding. You're not praying from desperation anymore, you're praying from dominion. Something in your tone has changed. Your prayers don't beg, they command. Your worship doesn't just reach God, it rebukes the darkness around you. Because you're not just walking in resurrection power, you've become a resurrection sign. To your bloodline, to your friends, to your former enemies. You are proof that what dies can live again, that what is buried can bloom, that what is shattered can rise with fire in its eyes. Hell thought it had you, but resurrection was always the plan. God let the old version of you die, not to shame you, but to unveil the one he always saw. And now the tables have turned. It is written in the Gospel of John, chapter 11, verse 25, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. Jesus didn't just overcome the grave, he became the blueprint for everyone who would rise again in him. That includes you. What was supposed to take you out is now taking you into the next realm of purpose. You no longer apologize for your presence. You no longer second-guess your discernment. You no longer chase counterfeit peace. There's a fire in your eyes now, a knowing in your bones. You've been through too much to entertain smallness, too refined to play safe, too resurrected to ever be buried again. Every lie spoken about you has been silenced by what God is doing through you. You are walking evidence. The people who left you for dead will have no choice but to watch you walk out of the tomb. But you won't come out with vengeance, you'll come out with victory. Comment, I have risen. Write it as a decree. Let those 3 words echo through the spirit realm. I have risen means I'm not trying to get up, I'm already standing. I'm not surviving anymore, I'm soaring. This is not motivation. This is identity. You've died to old habits, old thoughts, old cycles, and now you're rising with vision, clarity, and purpose. That comment isn't for attention. It's for agreement. It seals what God has already done in your spirit. It marks the moment your mouth matched your movement. Say it. Mean it. Own it. You have risen. And just like Jesus walked out of the tomb with scars but no shame, you're walking into this next season marked but mighty. You carry the story of pain, but you also carry the authority of power. The wounds remind you of the battle, but they no longer bleed. They testify. Resurrection doesn't erase the memory of the grave, it just strips it of its grip. That's why the warfare increased right before this moment. The closer you got to resurrection, the louder the opposition became. Because even hell knows, resurrected people don't return to chains. Once you've tasted liberty, you never bow again. And now, you walk different, speak different, Move different. Not because you're pretending to be something, but because you've become something. You are no longer who you were. Not even close. And that's the beauty of it. You don't owe explanations for your resurrection. You just walk it out. Quietly. Boldly. With fire. With reverence. With holy confidence. You're not trying to come back anymore. You've already returned. Not as a version of the old, but as a carrier of something new. So keep walking. The grave is behind you. The glory is ahead. Heaven is watching you. Chosen one. Every step you've taken, every time you've refused to break, every tear that fell in silence, heaven has recorded it. You may not have felt seen on earth, but the eyes of heaven never left you. The throne of God was never blind to your pain. And now, the divine record is speaking on your behalf. This is not a moment for fear. This is a moment for clarity. Your obedience in private has summoned a public release. What others called insignificant, heaven called sacred. The conversations you had with God in the dark are now turning into doors that open in the light. You didn't do it for attention. You didn't stay faithful to be noticed. You did it because you love Him. And because of that, there's favor about to locate you, not because of effort, but because of alignment. When you stayed faithful to your assignment, God stayed faithful to His timeline. There's a supernatural rhythm being established around you. You are no longer just reacting to the world, you're moving with heaven. And when you move with heaven, your delay turns into divine setup. Your waiting becomes strategy. Your silence becomes a sound the enemy can't decode. And now, heaven is watching how you respond to this moment. The Word of God declares in the second book of Chronicles, chapter 16, verse 9, "For the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth, to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to Him." You see, God isn't watching to judge you, He's watching to strengthen you. Watching for the moment your yes becomes immovable. Watching for the moment your trust outweighs your understanding. Because when that happens, strength is released. This isn't an emotional high. This is a prophetic invitation. God is testing your posture. He's asking, can you handle the weight of what you've prayed for? Because the next door won't just bless you, it will stretch you. It will require you to carry not just favor, but responsibility. Responsibility for souls, for atmospheres, for stewarding revelation, not just receiving it. And this kind of responsibility can't be birthed in shallow soil. It only grows in the quiet ground of surrender. That's what you've walked through. Not rejection refinement, not abandonment alignment, not failure foundation. And now, that foundation is ready. God never builds high without digging deep. And the depth of your pain is about to match the height of your purpose. You've passed tests, others failed. You held your tongue when slander surrounded you. You chose honor when vengeance would have felt better. You stayed quiet when your flesh wanted to expose. Defend. Retaliate. And heaven said, I can trust that one. You're not perfect, but you are postured. And now, the weight of glory is beginning to hover over your life. You can sense it, can't you? The air feels different. People are being drawn to you, not because of charisma, but because of the oil. The aroma of obedience is leaking from your life. People see your fruit and don't even know the fight behind it. You've become the place God trusts with pressure, and because of that, you're about to be trusted with power. But let me say this gently, Don't keep this to yourself. If this word has met you, ministered to you, ignited something in you, don't just nod and scroll. Like this message because every like helps it find another weary warrior. Share it because someone is hanging on by a thread, and your share could throw them a lifeline. Subscribe, because this space is not entertainment, it's assignment. And if this well has watered you consistently, and you feel a nudge in your spirit, consider sowing into this mission. No pressure, no guilt, only if heaven whispers. Every seed expands this message. Every gift multiplies the reach. You're not giving to a person, you're investing in prophetic purpose. Let your giving be worship. Let it be a sign to God. I honor the voice that pulled me back from quitting. Because, chosen one, this is bigger than you. Your breakthrough isn't for applause. It's for legacy. God is raising you as a pillar in a shaking culture. You are the stabilizer, the standard, the voice rising while others fall silent. You are not waiting for permission anymore. Heaven has already spoken. The scroll is open. The angelic assignments are moving. And God is watching, not to punish, but to promote, not to critique, but to crown. Let your response be this: yes, Lord, I'm still here, and I'm ready. This is your moment. Your name is already written in the wind. What you obey now echoes in eternity. So rise, chosen one. Destiny is watching, and so is heaven. There's something sacred about this part of the journey. Chosen one. It doesn't look like breakthrough on the surface. Nothing flashy. No loud signs. No trumpet sound. Just stillness. Just wait. Just a holy awareness that something has changed deep within you, even if the world hasn't caught up yet. This is the part most people skip past. The part between resurrection and manifestation. The place where your spirit is alive. Your identity is clear. But the external hasn't adjusted yet. You're awake. But you're still surrounded by shadows. You've moved on in your heart. But the evidence hasn't shown up in your life. But don't mistake silence for absence. Don't misread delay as denial. And above all, don't let stillness rob you of your certainty. What's happening now is not random. It's refinement. You're not being held back. You're being held in place by design. Like gold in the fire. Like seed in the soil. Like arrows held in tension before being released with precision. You're not being punished. You're being perfected. It's in this space where God molds leaders no one has seen coming. He trains generals in caves, not crowds. He shapes oil carriers in solitude, not on platforms. The fire that's been allowed to remain is not an enemy, it's an invitation. Because in the quiet, God speaks clearer. In the stillness, He recalibrates motives. In the waiting, He stretches trust. And trust is what carries you when sight is denied. It's what keeps your posture holy when applause disappears. It's what whispers, even here, I know who I am. There is an unseen battle that ends not with noise, but with knowing. You don't need to be loud to be lethal in the spirit. You don't need to defend yourself when heaven has already ruled in your favor. There's a stillness that holds more authority than striving ever could. A yielded heart breaks more demonic cycles than a shouted sermon. God has not forgotten your obedience. Every time you worshipped with an empty hand, every time you chose peace instead of revenge, every time you resisted bitterness and forgave without closure, that was kingdom warfare. And you've already won battles the world will never know existed. It was proclaimed in the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verse 26. It is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. Waiting quietly doesn't mean passivity, it means posture. It means you trust Him enough not to rush Him. It means you've matured past needing everything fast. You'd rather have it in His time than in your control. And because of that, you're becoming unshakable. The truth is, this quiet place has been your promotion, not your punishment. You were called deeper, not delayed. God trusted you with silence because He knew you wouldn't abandon Him in it. He allowed the hidden season because He knew you'd still show up for the assignment, even when no one was clapping. This is the kind of stillness that precedes a storm of glory. You've been strengthened by silence, calibrated by solitude, rebuilt in places no one saw. And when the revealing comes, when the platform opens, when the door swings wide, it won't be hype that sustains you. It will be humility forged in the stillness, because what's coming next won't require noise. It will require weight. And you, chosen one, have it now. You've endured the pruning without uprooting yourself. You stayed planted when the soil felt suffocating. You held fast to the word when the vision blurred. That's more than endurance. That's maturity. That's evidence of transformation. That's the proof that this isn't just another emotional season. This is the making of a mantle. The ones who will carry revival won't be the most popular. They'll be the most surrendered. The ones who stayed when others scattered. The ones who listened when others spoke. The ones who bowed when others reached. And you're being counted among them. So if you're in a place right now that feels slow, still, or silent, don't despise it. It's sacred. It's strategic. It's heaven's classroom. And what you learn here will carry you into rooms you never imagined, with strength you never knew you had. The noise will come later. The visibility will come. But for now, stay hidden in Him. Stay grounded. Stay rooted in the Word. Stay soft in spirit, but sharp in discernment. Stay low before God, so He can raise you without it ruining you. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're not overlooked. You're becoming quietly, fully, eternally. And when God reveals what He's been doing in you, they won't see noise. They'll see glory. Chosen one. This is a moment to recognize the shift not only around you, but within you. The battles you've survived were not just about endurance, they were about transformation. You didn't just go through the storm. You came out changed. The you who entered the fire is not the you standing here now. You think you're waiting for the blessing. But truthfully, the blessing has been waiting for you to become ready. And now you are. You've been stretched, sifted, and shaped in private. And what God is about to release publicly is the reward for what you held on to when no one was watching. You've been in a long season of sowing tears, sowing prayer, sowing obedience. But make no mistake, a harvest is inevitable, not because of your perfection, but because of your posture. You've learned how to plant in drought, how to remain when others ran, how to stay soft when life tried to harden you. There is a window in the Spirit open above you now, not a random moment, but a prophetic intersection. The timing is precise. The positioning is divine. You've been aligned for activation. Everything you've walked through wasn't just preparation, it was placement. And now heaven is issuing a call. Respond, not with emotion, but with agreement. You're not being asked to feel something, you're being called to confirm something. This is a divine checkpoint, a spiritual signature moment. Heaven is watching. Will you agree with what's already been written about you? You may not have seen the evidence yet, but your spirit knows this is different. You can feel the weight of it, a holy pressure, a sacred pulling. That's not confusion, that's confirmation. The pull is not backward, it's forward, into deeper places, into higher places, into the full measure of who you really are. The Word of God declares in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11, verse 1, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for after many days you will find it again." This is that after many days moment, the return is here. The harvest is circling back. Every act of faith you thought was lost, God never forgot it. Every seed you released into the unseen is about to speak in your favor. And here's the mystery. The greatest returns often come after the greatest silence. Right when you thought nothing was working, everything was taking root. The invisible things are now becoming visible. Heaven is reintroducing you to the earth as someone new. But don't let this pass by without a response. Comment the number 5,888. This is not random. It's a prophetic signal. 5 represents grace unearned. Undeniable. Divine favor. 888 means new beginnings, born from heaven. Together, 5,888 declares this: I receive grace to walk boldly into what's already mine. Now, by typing it, you are not just showing agreement, you are stamping this moment in the spirit realm. You are aligning with the season of harvest, of restoration, and of completed promises. This is not hype. This is a signal to heaven. I recognize the return. I'm no longer waiting. I'm walking in. Now, you've carried weight in silence. You've obeyed without proof. You've remained faithful in the unseen. And now, the unseen realm is shifting in your direction. You may not hear thunder. You may not see lightning. But the earth under your feet is responding. Systems are adjusting. Doors are preparing to swing open. People are being positioned. Strategies are being whispered to your spirit. Even your enemies are being reassigned. This is grace in motion. Not mercy to survive, but grace to build. Grace to walk into unfamiliar places with confidence. Grace to carry what others could not. Grace to finish what others abandoned. Grace to become the version of you that was always written in heaven. You've been waiting for breakthrough, but now breakthrough is waiting for you to speak. Say it with your spirit. Say it with your comment. Say it with your posture. 5888. Let that number shake every doubt. Let it echo through the digital realm as a signpost of transformation. Let it break cycles and establish clarity. This is not hype. This is holy agreement. Grace multiplied. Destiny activated. The return has arrived. You are not the same, and heaven has just confirmed it's your time. So don't hesitate. Mark this moment with faith. 5,888 is not just a number, it's a covenant. A heavenly agreement written into your future. What you affirm now unlocks what's already prepared. The return is real. The grace is active. And your yes today reshapes generations tomorrow. You are no longer waiting, you've arrived. This is where the deeper things begin. Chosen one. Not in the noise. Not in the flashing lights. But in the still places. the hidden chambers where your soul meets his spirit, and the voice of God is clearer than ever. What once felt distant now feels dangerously close. What once felt veiled is now being unveiled, and you are being invited to behold it all. This is not about gaining more knowledge. It's about receiving divine revelation. There's a difference. Knowledge informs, but revelation transforms. And the revelation coming to you now isn't just for understanding, it's for movement. It's God's way of shifting you into alignment with heaven's current, so your steps are no longer reactionary, but intentional, strategic, prophetic. What you're sensing is not imagination, it's activation. The sharpness in your discernment, the pulling in your gut, the sensitivity in your spirit. It's not spiritual fatigue, it's spiritual readiness. You're being quickened. Your spiritual receptors are wide open because heaven is feeding you mysteries not for entertainment, but for deployment. There are things about your bloodline, your assignment, your anointing that are only now beginning to unfold, and that's by design. God waited until your spirit was mature enough to carry it without pride. He waited until your heart could hear it without being shaken. And now, what was once sealed is being revealed. The Word of God speaks in the book of Daniel, chapter 2, verse 22. He reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what lies in darkness, and light dwells with him. What others missed because of spiritual noise, you are catching in stillness. What others rushed past, you now wait for, because something in you knows what God reveals in secret always leads to power in public. Your effectiveness is directly tied to how you steward his whispers, and God has started whispering again. He's whispering ideas, people's names, places, timings, shifts, corrections, warnings. And you're not hearing things, you're hearing him. Don't doubt the divine data. Don't dismiss what seems too subtle. Heaven rarely shouts. It speaks in layers, and it trusts those who respond even when the message is quiet. You've become one of those people because you've learned to sit still. God is revealing strategies because you've stayed soft. He's revealing assignments, and because you've stayed surrendered. He's revealing identity, not the version others labeled you with, but the original scroll written over your life before you were even formed. The deeper you go, the more silent the process becomes. But it's not a cold silence, it's a sacred one. You're being drawn deeper into the intimacy that births clarity. This is the stage where your steps start carrying more than momentum, they carry presence. Because the closer you get to the throne, the less you speak, and the more you radiate. What God is doing in you now isn't loud because it's holy. It's not casual because it's consecrated. The ideas you're receiving, the weight you feel before you speak, the trembling you sense before you move, that's not insecurity. That's the Spirit's confirmation that you're walking on holy ground. You've crossed into a realm where revelation has weight, where prophetic moments aren't hype, they're heaven's blueprints. And the decisions you make from here can't be led by convenience. They must be led by clarity. You no longer have the luxury of doing things just because. Not anymore. You're building something eternal now. You've seen too much to go back. You've heard too much to live normal. You've become too awakened to stay asleep. And this awakening is not a phase. It's the beginning of divine precision. The kind that doesn't just elevate people, it alters bloodlines. That's the level of responsibility you now carry. That's why the shaking had to come first. That's why the distractions had to fall off. That's why God allowed the silence for long enough that everything artificial fell away and only the voice of truth remained. And now you walk differently. You perceive differently. You don't just hear sermons anymore, you interpret movements. You don't just attend gatherings, you discern atmospheres. Because something in you has changed. Permanently. Eternally. And the most dangerous thing to darkness, a believer who's seen behind the veil and refuses to go back. So stay close to the whisper. Stay tuned to the shift. Stay rooted in the Word. Because in the coming days, you won't just need faith, you'll need spiritual intelligence. The kind that can only come from the one who sees everything, and he's revealing it to you now. Chosen one. There's a depth of endurance that only comes from surviving what should have destroyed you. You're not just standing by chance, you are standing because something inside you refused to collapse. That something wasn't ego. It wasn't willpower. It was the Spirit of the living God anchoring you when everything else fell apart. And now you're beginning to understand. Your survival wasn't just for you. Your endurance wasn't random. God was developing spiritual stamina in you. The kind of stamina needed to carry weight others couldn't. To walk paths others abandoned. To complete assignments that extend beyond comfort and applause. This is what distinguishes you. Not your background. Not your appearance. Not even your gifting. What sets you apart is your ability to remain under pressure, through delay, in the face of injustice. And even when silence became suffocating, you've learned how to carry pain without becoming it. You've learned how to bleed without bitterness. You've walked through hell without absorbing its language. That kind of endurance doesn't come through talent. It comes through fire. And you, chosen one, have been fire-tested. When others bowed to the noise, you pressed into the stillness. When others fell in love with the spotlight, you stayed hidden in the secret place. When others rushed ahead, you waited for instruction. You didn't move by impulse, you moved by obedience. And obedience is what kept the oil flowing. It is written in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." You didn't just pass a test, you're becoming a testimony. Your life is now a witness to others that perseverance isn't weakness, it's warfare. And not everyone can do what you've done. Not everyone is graced to carry what you've been assigned. That's why the battles were personal. That's why the isolation felt suffocating. That's why it seemed like everything hit you at once, because the enemy hoped you'd tap out before you tapped in. But what hell didn't account for was the fire in your bones that wouldn't go out. You didn't keep going because it was easy. You kept going because you were chosen. And now, the Spirit of God is awakening you to the reward of endurance. Not just external reward, but internal clarity. You no longer ask, "Why me?" You now say, "Use me." You don't flinch the way you used to. You don't question the process like before. You don't cry the same tears. You've stepped into a new spiritual posture, not of survival, but of establishment. You are being planted now, no longer drifting, no longer unstable, no longer swayed by winds of doubt or waves of fear. This establishment is what you fought for. And now, God is sealing it, not just with comfort, but with commissioning. You're not just coming out of a season, you're being sent into a movement. That's why your endurance matters. Because this isn't about finishing one chapter. It's about initiating new ones. And you've proven that you don't quit just because it's hard. You press through because it's holy. You are not here by luck. You are not where you are by accident. Every scar is a seal. Every delay is a design. Every shut door was protection. Every betrayal was redirection. And through it all, God was shaping a vessel He could trust. And now, you're not just walking forward, you're being launched. The strength in you now isn't loud. It's not flamboyant. It's not arrogant. It's quiet, steady, rooted. It's the kind of strength that no longer needs to prove itself. It just stands. And when others see it, they'll ask how you got here. And your answer will be simple: I didn't quit. Oh, and that's what separates the called from the chosen. The called hear the invitation, but the chosen endure the preparation. And you, beloved, have endured. You've endured when no one saw. You've stayed faithful when no one clapped. You stood in storms that would have drowned others. You've prayed through nights that left others numb. And because of that, you now carry unshakable authority. Don't underestimate what you've survived. Don't downplay the cost of your oil. Don't shrink from the strength you've earned. This was not free, but it was holy, and it was worth it. And now, the crown of endurance rests on your head, not one made of gold, but one made of glory, a mantle of perseverance that the world cannot understand, but the Spirit confirms. And that chosen one is a weight few can carry, but you were born for it. There's a shift in the atmosphere around your life. Chosen one, not a surface change, but a spiritual realignment. Things are no longer happening to you. Now, they're being released through you. The same mouth that once cried out for survival now carries power to set others free. This is the fruit of endurance, the harvest of obedience, the reward of saying yes when everything in you wanted to quit. You didn't just stay faithful, you stayed available. And heaven never forgets availability. Now, you're stepping into something more than a season. It's a spiritual assignment, one that carries weight, one that shakes chains off others just by your presence. You've become a carrier of divine presence because you chose to carry the cross when no one else would. People don't know what it cost you. They see the glow, but miss the grave. They hear the tone of your voice now, not realizing it was sharpened in silence. And that's okay, because what God is doing through you now is not about being understood, it's about being obedient. This is your commissioning moment. You've crossed through the fire, been tested in the wilderness, and now God is activating your voice for impact. No, you may not hold a mic, you may not stand on a stage, but your life will preach, your presence will prophesy, and your obedience will shake regions. It is written in the book of Romans, chapter 10, verse 15, "How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news." Your feet are beautiful now, not because of appearance, but because of assignment. You are no longer wandering. You're walking on purpose. You are no longer surviving, you are sent. But hear this, don't let this message stop with you. If this word found you, there's a reason. But it's not just to encourage, it's to activate. And someone else needs that same touch. So right now, if the Spirit is stirring inside you, like this message as an act of agreement. It's not for metrics, it's for mission. Your like says, "Yes, Lord, Do it through me too. Welly, and share this. Someone you love is on the verge of giving up. Someone else is one silent cry away from walking off their assignment. Your share could interrupt a spiral. It could revive a weary heart. It could awaken another warrior. Don't underestimate the ripple of obedience. And leave a comment below. Don't hold back when your spirit is resonating. One line, just one sentence, can shift someone else's atmosphere. You never know who's scrolling, who's searching, who's barely hanging on. Let your words be light in someone else's night. And if you've been fed here regularly, if this space has become your altar, consider this your nudge to subscribe. Stay connected. Stay covered. This isn't entertainment. It's spiritual sustenance. God is raising up a remnant. And this space is one of the training grounds. And for those who feel that deeper pull, the ones who know this isn't just a good word, but a divine well, you already know what to do. So where you've been watered, no pressure, no manipulation. Just honor. Honor the oil. Honor the assignment. Your seed doesn't just support it, multiplies breakthrough. For others, for you, you don't sow to earn. You sow because you recognize what's holy, because what's happening in you now is bigger than just a word. It's a shift in your spiritual DNA. You've moved from being fed to becoming a feeder, from receiving fire to carrying it. You are now a walking revival. Even if you don't feel like it yet, heaven knows, hell knows, and soon, so will the earth. You don't have to announce your transformation. Your life will say it for you. The conversations you walk away from, the rooms you no longer feel called to, the things you stop apologizing for. That's not attitude, it's awareness. You know who you are now. You know whose you are, and you know why you were preserved. This kind of fire can't be faked. It was forged in too much silence, born through too much pain. You didn't read about it, you bled for it. You didn't borrow it, you birthed it. And now that you carry it, the only thing left to do is release it. So let this moment be more than emotion. Let it be commission. There are generations depending on your yes. There are regions waiting for your obedience. There are lives tied to your alignment. Don't let this just be a moment. Let it be a marking. What you've survived qualifies you. What you carry equips you. And what heaven has whispered is now shouting through you, it's time. Let this be the beginning of boldness. The dawn of deliverance. The rise of those who don't wait to be called forward. They step forward on command. You were made for this. Now, move in it. There is a quiet strength rising inside you now. Chosen one, a strength not born of ambition or applause, but of clarity. You finally see what the battle was about. It was never just about your comfort, your peace, or your progress. It was about your positioning. The enemy didn't attack your convenience, he targeted your calling. And now you understand. The pressure wasn't punishment, it was precision. God was crafting you into someone who could not be moved by flattery or fear. Someone who could no longer be manipulated by people's silence or seduced by their approval. You have been made stable. And stability is dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. This is why you've felt a shift in your relationships. Not everyone who started with you can go where you're headed. Some connections are not evil, they're expired. And if you confuse loyalty with covenant, you'll stay tethered to people God only meant to be part of your preparation, not your promise. You're not being heartless. You're being called higher. And altitude demands adjustment. Eagles don't fly in flocks. They soar in silence, seeing farther than most, climbing higher than most, and discerning storms before they ever strike. That's you now. You're no longer moved by the chaos below because your eyes are fixed on the assignment above. This is the phase where God doesn't just show you people, He shows you you. He brings you face to face with the unrefined pieces of your own soul, the hidden pride, the unconscious fears, the lingering trauma, and He doesn't expose to shame you, He reveals to heal and prepare you. You're being called into alignment with your original blueprint, not the version shaped by survival, but the one written before time, the real you, the kingdom version, the voice, the vessel, the warrior, the worshipper, the builder, the breaker of generational curses. That version is awakening now, as declared by the Apostle Paul in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 10. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. You were prepared in advance. That means your calling came before the crisis. Your identity was spoken before the trauma ever touched you. What you're stepping into now is not new to God, it's just new to you. But heaven has already mapped this out. You're simply arriving to what's always been waiting. That's why the distractions have increased lately. That's why old temptations have tried to re-enter. That's why the pressure feels familiar. The enemy is trying to make you reach back for what you've already outgrown. He wants you to shrink, to fit spaces God has called you to transform. But you're not shrinking anymore. You're not going back to versions of yourself that made people comfortable. You're not diluting your fire to protect fragile egos. You're not explaining your discernment to those who refuse to listen. This season requires focus, and focus demands boundaries. Let them call you distant. Let them say you changed. That's the point. You are changing because you're becoming. The oil on your life is not for popularity, it's for purpose. And purpose has a price. It will cost you distractions. It will cost you laziness. It will cost you pretending. But what it gives you in return is holy, clarity, authority, and legacy. You were never meant to stay small. You were never meant to blend in. The favor you carry is disruptive. The mantle on your life provokes warfare, but it also establishes order. You're stepping into that now, into the space where your very presence begins to shift atmospheres, not because of who you are, but because of who walks with you. This is no longer about waiting for open doors. It's about becoming the door. You are a gateway through which others will encounter God. You are a walking altar, a breathing prophecy, a moving manifestation of mercy and might. That's why it's been hard, because the enemy doesn't fight what doesn't threaten him. And you, chosen one, are a threat. Not because you yell loud, but because you stand firm. Not because you have it all together, but because you refuse to give up. That's power. That's presence. That's dangerous to hell. So walk boldly now, not arrogantly, not carelessly, but boldly. You carry something rare. You have become something eternal. You are walking into rooms as a sent one, not a seeker of validation, but a carrier of kingdom vibration. Let your feet be steady. Let your eyes be clear. Let your heart remain surrendered. You're no longer just preparing for destiny. You are stepping into it. Chosen one. This is the threshold moment, the line between who you were and who you will never be again. You don't return from here unchanged. You don't shrink back from this kind of fire and remain ordinary. You've crossed something in the spirit that no one else may see. But all of heaven recognizes what was blurry is now sharp. What felt heavy is now holy. You've stepped into a realm where your life doesn't just carry meaning, it carries mandate. You no longer speak from opinion. You speak from oil. You no longer move from impulse. You move from instruction. You've been given more than clarity. You've been entrusted with authority. Not because of perfection, but because of surrender. Because you said yes when it cost everything. Because you wept in silence but still walked in obedience. Because you stopped asking for the platform and started praying for the presence. That kind of heart is rare. That kind of heart can be trusted. And now, everything around you is being summoned into alignment. Not because of striving, but because of sovereignty. God is commanding the next chapter to open, not because you forced it, but because you were formed for it. There is a sound coming from your life now, a sound that can't be explained by background. Reshume, or title, a frequency that shakes demonic structures simply because you exist in the room, a presence that doesn't beg to be noticed but refuses to be ignored, because the fire didn't just refine you, it marked you. People will sense it. Atmospheres will respond to it. And not everyone will be comfortable with what you carry. That's okay. Glory was never designed to be palatable. It was meant to disrupt. And you were never meant to blend in. You were built to pierce through. There's a holy disruption on your life now. One that makes religious spirits nervous. One that breaks cycles just by walking into rooms. You've become a living contradiction to what the enemy hoped you'd become. You didn't stay silent. You didn't fold. You didn't lose yourself to bitterness. And now, you're becoming dangerous to darkness. This is the part the enemy dreaded, your arrival into awareness. The day you'd realize your prayers move mountains, that your posture breaks chains, that your story isn't one of survival, it's a blueprint for others to rise. You are not here to fit in. You are here to build something that lasts beyond you. And you now carry the wisdom to know, not every battle deserves your sword. Some only require your silence, and others, your sound. Discernment has matured in you. You no longer react to provocation. You respond to purpose. You don't chase validation anymore. You carry confirmation. You don't try to open doors because now you realize you are one. That's what this journey has forged in you. You've become the answer to prayers you never heard. You've become the breaker for curses you never caused. You've become the restoration for a lineage that suffered in silence. And heaven has taken note. The word of God speaks in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. This is not future tense. This is now. Your light has come. The glory is already resting. The evidence may take time to manifest, but in the spirit it's already done. And now, every step you take from here must be intentional. Because marked people don't walk aimlessly. They walk in assignment. You'll begin to feel the weight of things more deeply. Not because you're overwhelmed, but because you're awake. You'll sense what others ignore. You'll weep for things others joke about. You'll fast without fanfare. You'll intercede with precision. Why? Because you're not normal anymore. You are set apart. This is what glory does. It ruins you for the ordinary. It rewires your appetite. It redefines success. You don't just want breakthrough anymore, you want legacy. You don't just want miracles, you want movement. and your life is now aligned to birth that movement. Don't be surprised when the invitations shift, when the rooms change, when the audience thins. That's not rejection, it's refinement. God is narrowing your path so He can widen your impact. He's clearing your circle so He can deepen your authority. And as you go forward, remember, what carried you here won't carry you there. Now you walk in new grace. Now you speak from new fire. Now you lead with new oil. This isn't a continuation, it's a commissioning. The mantle is real, the fire is permanent, and your obedience has echoed into eternity. You've arrived, and the world is about to encounter God through you, chosen one. If this word stirred something inside you, if it awakened what religion tried to bury, if it confirmed what heaven has been whispering in your spirit, then this was never just a message. This was a divine encounter. You weren't scrolling. You were summoned. God hand-delivered this moment to you. So, don't let this be where the oil stops. Let this be where the fire spreads. Like this word, if your spirit says, "This was for me," that's not for numbers, it's for alignment. That small act says, "Yes, Lord," seal it. You're not just a listener, you are a carrier of what was spoken here. And share this message with someone who's on the edge, someone who's ready to give up, someone who's walking through the same fire you just survived. What healed you might just rescue them. Drop a comment below. Just a sentence, a phrase, a whisper from your spirit. I receive it. I'm ready. This word was mine. Someone will read your words and find strength to stand again. Your testimony becomes another's turning point. If this space has become a well for your soul, subscribe. Stay connected. Don't drift. Let this be a place where you return to be sharpened, fueled, and reminded of who you really are. And if the Holy Spirit is nudging you to sow, don't ignore the tug. When you sow into what feeds you, the harvest multiplies in places you can't even imagine. You're not buying blessing. You're honoring the oil. This is holy ground. What was spoken over you is real. And now, the next move is yours. You are chosen. You are marked. And you are ready.